Leah Jackson to the front of the room. Hi. I wanted them to say hello to you hours ago, and you were too busy helping people with drinks and things. Let's say hello and thank you to Leah Jackson, the owner of this fine establishment.
Hello.
And well, do you have anything else you want to tell them about? Anything?
We already talked about the book signing,
Yes.
and you talked about the music.
Anything niche related that they should know?
Tell them we're doing our niche night.
Oh, we're gonna do Naughty Niche Night again. That was Leah's thing.
Yeah, that'll happen in December sometime.
Sometime in December.
What is Naughty Niche Night? So Naughty Niche Night started out as a way for people to get up and just read parts of romance novels out loud. It kind of has morphed into one of the authors knows a lot of romance writers, so the writers came. If anyone is really good at reading other people's material, I'd like to have a plant in the audience so that I can have somebody come up and read in a very, I don't know, give me a word.
Very dangerous what you're asking right now.
I would like someone to, not, just because you can write romance doesn't mean you can get up and read romance. So I'm looking for someone.
Okay. Put it out to the universe and then
Putting it out to the universe.
This is what happens here at Niche Events. Since about 2005, whenever I had an idea about some cool poetry-related shit that I wanted to do in Vancouver, I came to this woman and she always said yes. She always gave me a place to do that and continues to do so. So let's give her a hand. We did a group reading of Howl, the only one that I could find in this whole goddamn state, which is terrible. If there were other people doing it, it was like the 50th anniversary. None of them advertised their shit. And a whole year of bilingual readings and countless poetry and music events and just lots of wonderful things. Poetry coasters, which was another one of her great ideas. We did contests and then put poems on coasters. So this is one of those people you ought to know about and you ought to thank. And I'm sure that Leah and Reed are wondering about what's going on here. So I will let you know there are 3 more, including me. So just to give you a sense of things.
And the other thing I'm going to ask for tonight that I don't normally ask for is if you could just stack the chairs against the wall.
Okay.
And you don't have to stack the
Yeah.
other chairs.
Just don't stack any of the chairs against the wall and the art. Be careful about that.
Yes, you don't have to stack them super high. Just
Yeah.
get them out of the way.
All right. So you've been asked if you have the time. Okay, so next we're going to hear from someone that we've had here before, and it's nice to see you here again. Please say hello to Angeline Ian.
So, as per usual, I have a rough draft of mine and a quite finished draft of someone else. And I wrote it in this, found it, okay. So it's called Dear You. Dear You, if these are the last words that you hear from me, I hope you remember nothing of the sentences and everything of the sentiments. Instead of my endless queries into your health, social life, job, dog, remember only that I cared. If you stubbed your toe or found a penny on the ground, I wanted to know, not despite their smallness, but because of it. The small pains and joys of each moment shape our lives, and I wanted to study the subtle ups and downs of yours. That I wanted to be an expert on how to build you back up when the world weighed you down. Because I cared. Instead of my summary about my health, my social life, my dog, remember that I omitted the stubbed toes, the found pennies, not despite of their smallness, but because of it. Because I was afraid to let you care. And if these are the last words that you hear from me, I still hope that you write back, even if it's just to say you don't want to hear from me anymore. And then this poem is by Becker. He has a first and middle name, but everyone just calls him Becker. I can find his full name. Gustavo Adolfo Becker. Was a Spanish poet, and I will be saying the poem first in the original Spanish and then in the English translation, and 417. This poem is called Al ver mis horas de fiebre. Al ver mis horas de fiebre e insomnio lentas pasar a la orilla de mi lecho, ¿quién se sentará? Cuando la trémula mano tienda, próximo a expirar, buscando una mano amiga, ¿quién la estrechará? Cuando la muerte vidríe de mis ojos el cristal, mis párpados aún abiertos, ¿quién los cerrará? Cuando la campana suene, si suena en mi funeral, una oración al oírla, ¿quién murmurará? Cuando mis pálidos restos oprimen la tierra ya, sobre la olvidada fosa, ¿quién vendrá a llorar? ¿Quién, en fin, al otro día, cuando el sol vuelva a brillar, de que pase por el mundo, ¿quién se acordará? And then the English translation by John Crow, and it's To See the Hours of Fever. To see the hours of fever and sleeplessness pass by, seated at my bedside, who will watch me die? When my hand gropes, trembling with its dying grasp, seeking for a friendly hand, whose hand will it clasp? When my eyes turn glassy as my seeing dies, open still and staring, who will close my eyes? When the bell tolls for me, if there is a bell, who a prayer will murmur as he hears it knell? When my rigid body in the earth lies dead, who at my forgotten grave tears will come to shed? When again the sunlight floods some later day, that I once was in the world, who will think to say?
Okay, another old friend of the series and just one of the best damn writers in Portland. I say without hesitation because everybody who's heard him read feels the same way. Please say hello again to Dennis McBride.
Thank you. Wonder, would you read this one?
All right, haven't seen it before. A message from the a message from the SPCA. Homelessness in America is rapidly becoming a tragic problem, but together we can do something about it. To be effective, you have to attack the root cause of homelessness, and that obviously is the failure of parents to spray and neuter their children. Some of the problem is helped by adoption, but there just aren't enough homes for all the stray people. Here's what you can do to help. Prevent just one litter and more accidental litters by spaying and neutering your children before they have a chance to reproduce. Make sure they wear a license and identification tag and have a microchip inserted under their skin. Consider sponsoring a friend or neighbor's unspayed or unneutered child. Educate your friends and neighbors on the importance of spaying and neutering their children by holding block parties and remember. If you feed or care for a stray or feral child, have them spayed or neutered right away. It's much less expensive emotionally and financially than either alternative. Join and encourage your friends to join the SPCA, Spaying Program for Children of America. Let's all pinch in together. For more information, contact or write to Republican Congressional Caucus for Combating Homelessness, www.spay.com.
There's an estimated 20,000 doomsday asteroids within striking distance of the Earth. That doesn't have anything to do with the reading tonight, but I thought you should know. Helps you to get perspective on things like the election and all that kind of stuff. Robert Frost said, I came to a fork in the woods and took the road less traveled, and that made all the difference. I've always been a little suspicious of that. I don't know how he knew it was less traveled since he hadn't taken it before. Anyway, I like Yogi Berra better. He said, when you come to the fork in the road, take it.
Yes.
This is from a series I'm starting called Making America Great Again. Why I read the Reader's Digest. I suffer from a serious affliction which society harshly stigmatizes as shoplifting. If you have to have an affliction, shoplifting is better than oral herpes because you can hide it, and you're better off in this world if you have something that can be hidden. Just ask Richard Nixon or Bill Clinton. Although Clinton partially redeemed himself because just when I thought he didn't have an authentic bone in his body, he came up with one. And we punished him for it. Anyway, I have always had these attendant symptoms of guilt with shoplifting, which I recently tried to alleviate by reading a book I found on the spirituality of human imperfections and using affirmations. This initially offered some relief, but I eventually developed a tolerance to the affirmations and had to increase the strength of the message to things like God loves shoplifters most. Then, because I wanted more non-judgmental love, I increased my shoplifting, which resulted in increased frequency and intensity of guilt. I realized it was time to tie tough love in myself, so I resolved every time I shoplifted, I would call the owner personally and apologize. Well, I won't even repeat some of the rude responses I got, which only aggravated my already low self-esteem. At this point, I felt at a loss of what to do, and then I found myself browsing through the magazine section of Safeway when I saw Reader's Digest with the lead article emblazoned on its cover, Stop Feeling So Guilty. It's amazing how God always leads you to what you need. No one was looking, so I slipped it into my pocket. It was a wonderful article and made a major change in my ability to live with my condition without crippling guilt. Let's all pitch in together and make America great again. It's easy to mistake the mentally ill who are occasionally mentally well with the mentally well who are occasionally mentally ill. It's called rehabilitation. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses, all the king's men tried to put Humpty Dumpty back together again so they could put him back up on the wall where he was miserable, where he had his great fall. War and Peace. My cat went into the bedroom when I wasn't looking, knocked the bird cage over and ate the bird. He dragged out to the living room and ate everything but the head and wings. I had to get a replacement bird before Kevin got home from school because he loved that bird. So I put it in the trunk of the car and drove down to the pet store. I was in a hurry, but I remembered it had to be turquoise on his chest. When I got there, all the turquoise ones had yellow heads, but I couldn't remember if his head had been yellow. Then I remembered that his head was in the trunk. So I went out, and sure enough, it was yellow. So I went back to the store and bought one of the birds with the yellow head and got home in time to put it in the cage in Kevin's room. He didn't notice anything. Sometimes love is like that. I'll leave you with a segue to sex, which allowed us all to be together here tonight. I have a confession. I don't really like women in the workplace. I don't like men in the workplace. I don't like the workplace. Oscar Wilde said a map of the world without utopia on it was hardly worth glancing at. It's called Utopia. Prayer in school, sex in school, laughter in school, no school in school. Sweet grapes and lilacs by every bed. And close with a thought that when the famous physicist Richard Feynman gave his famous talk, Room at the Bottom, that launched the whole field of nanotechnology. And too bad that he died before he saw George Bush become president. Anyway, there's a lot more room at the bottom than he thought. Anyway, with the electron microscope and nanotechnology, our focus has been on the very small. We're learning more and more about less and less. Pretty soon we're going to know everything about nothing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's so great to have you back. So I got a few announcements for you and a few poems to say goodnight. So the announcements are on Saturday, I'll be out there representing Printed Matter Vancouver, which I'm not exactly sure why Toni was being coy about. It is the small press that Toni and I have. So I'll have our books, excepting Tiffany's because it isn't launched yet, and some art, and I'll be writing poems on the spot for anybody who drops by. That's Washougal Art Festival. It's the Saturday the 13th. I think it runs from 9 to 4, so come out and catch some rays with me on Saturday. And then
Where is that exactly?
I don't know, but I do have
Downtown.
some
Washougal.
postcards downtown.
You're gonna be in
Lovely
Washougal?
downtown Washougal, yes.
It's going to be a lovely downtown Washougal.
Should be great.
Yeah. He's going to be there.
And
You have
then
to go see him.
earlier we mentioned Gwen's book launch. Gwen, the artist, who's also a great poet. If you want to check out the book that's going to be launched, there's actually a few copies here because the publisher got it ready on time. Her first book, which is up by the front, is fantastic. So anyway, that's the evening of the 20th. But if you'd like to do some writing with me, because of the Washougal Art Festival, I had to push my workshop ahead. So on the 20th in the afternoon, next door at Niche, 11:30 to 2:30, we'll do some writing. It's a $20 suggested donation, which means if you can't pay or don't feel like paying, we want you to come and write with us anyway. And we'll do high-speed writing exercises. You know, we'll try to see if we can get you out of here with like 4 or 5 poems in a couple of hours. So, and we have a good time. And Leah will make some coffee and tea, and people bring snacks to share. So, and then what else? Oh, I'm trying to. It's still to be determined how long exactly I will continue to be the poet laureate of Clark County. And I mean, the Clark County Arts Commission has not exactly figured that out or decided it. However, I am in that position at least until the end of the year, and so I wanted to try to do something for the homeless. So I'm working on that. I'm going to be going down to the community meal that happens here at the end of the month, and trying to do some writing exercises with whoever wants to do it. But when I asked Hector, who's the guy in town here who feeds them, who makes the meal happen, you know, about some of the things we might do, he said that there are a lot of them that like to read, there are a lot of them that write, and so we are going to start collecting books for them, and they have to be paperback books because it has to be something you could fit in a bag or in your back pocket. So I actually have the box but didn't have time in my busy life to make it fancy. The box is here, but starting whenever you want to, start bringing us those books, and we'll distribute them to them when they come down for the community meals. Yes?
Will the box be here all the time?
Yeah, and actually I'm here now on Tuesdays and Wednesdays also, so yeah, just drop by. And I asked Leah, I think it's okay with her if someone drops off a book as long as they tell them why they're dropping off books. Is that okay with you, Leah? Can people drop off books here when I'm not around?
I always tell you yes.
Oh, okay, thanks. See what I tell you. Okay, so that's the end of the announcements. And I think what people should really do on the 20th is come and take the workshop, then just stick around and eat and drink until Gwen's thing at 7. What else do you have to do on a Saturday? So just like Russ, I have, I'm going to read 3. The first 2 that I'm going to read are ones that I'm not sure if they're poems, I'm not sure if they're good, and I'm willing to hear what you think later if you want to tell me. The first one is called No Restraint. Silence is a given, except when it isn't. When all that is built up inside boils at the throat, before bursting forth in a torrent of bile and heretofore suppressed rage. And suddenly you have become the beast you aim to tame, with all your good sense, your judgment, and your reason, your righteous certainty. And even as you realize what a hypocritical piece of shit this makes you, you think to yourself, doesn't this prove that I was right all along? Okay. So when I'm being that real, I can't tell if it's any good. I guess it's at least okay. All right. To the Magpie Mr. Yates. This is a poem from my friend Paul Yates, who I went to film school with and now teaches at American Film Institute. And he was one of those people who, we were all in our late teens, early 20s, was at film school to play with the equipment because it's expensive and it's hard to get your hands on. Already a genius before he even showed up. So this is for him. To the Magpie Mr. Yates. I refuse to be the one who insists that you cannot levitate. You won't find me shaking my head in disbelief disapprovingly were you to float or even fly. Who am I to deny this reality, to question your experience? What evidence could I produce to disprove this joyful discovery? What kind of sadist relishes delivering the bad news, especially when he may be wrong? You, me, and Fellini, dreamers all. So a long time before I was doing collage poems and pissing off people that don't know about the history of art with my collage poems, Paul made a film where there's part of it where he's floating like a balloon around. And this was before I had personally seen 8½, and they had a great film series on campus. And actually, I think I probably saw it before I graduated and realized that he had, just decided as a young filmmaker he wanted to see if he could make that happen and put himself in the role, and it was great. It was funny, and anybody that doesn't get it or doesn't like it, that's okay. That's what makes the world go round, right? So this is a little more serious, and I read this at the reading for Tessara Dudley that GL asked me to come to. It's hard. Like, I've been talking to my students recently about, I make these grand pronouncements while they feel right in the moment, and all of it could be bullshit, but it's right at the moment, so you want to say it, right, while you're feeling it. And so one of the things I've been thinking lately is, like, poets are people who understand that words are completely inadequate for the emotions that we're trying to express through the words, and then we try to do something with those words anyway. We just decide we're gonna push through, we're gonna give it our best shot, and try as hard as we can. So this is me trying and possibly failing to deal with some of the shit that's been going on. A few words regarding the carnage which has become our daily expectation. The air is thick with centuries-old resentment. Viscera covers the pavement and sinks into the soil to fertilize the rage of those whose genocide seeded a nation. Blood feud boils over like recurring nightmare on these American streets. That sound you hear is another mother sobbing. That sound you hear is the cacophony of countless chickens stampeding home to roost. Hatred easily finds purchase in heady times like these, when the stakes cannot be denied each time we stare at our gleaming screens. The carnage that was always this nation's true manifest destiny. Outgunned, you cannot win this war of attrition. When the oppressor has mindless jackboot thugs and drone assassins, the only option, the only solution is love. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, for your beautiful words and your energy. She had to go before this moment, but I'm just going to say thank you to Celeste again. I'm glad that she was able to come and do it. And she left saying, I've got to, the way maybe some of you, the first time you're here, feel like you need to tell your friends. And like I said, that's how we've gotten a lot of the Portland people we've gotten, is they just had such a good time, they had to tell people about it. So thank you to Toni, my co-host. And when I was talking about the printed matter thing, here's the thing. This beautiful book of Tiffany's debut book that we're going to launch at next month's Ghost Town, I really didn't do very much at all. It was all Toni. Toni edited the thing, she designed the thing, she made the thing happen. Printed Matter Vancouver is me and Toni, but I'm not taking credit for any of that shit because Toni did it. And she didn't even want to say the press out loud. So if you're fortunate enough as a male poet, you may marry a feminist female poet, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that women are socialized to not own and
I own it.
assert and be proud of the shit that they do. So Toni made this cool ass book. Come next month and see the book, and it's for our dear friend Tiffany.
And the flyers on Poetry Moves.
Oh
That
yeah,
one.
the deadline on Poetry Moves, if you're a Clark County resident and you want to have your poem on the bus, we told them we wanted to turn it over quickly. This is so that we have time to judge and they have time to turn them into channel cards for the buses. So
September 14th.
September 14th is the deadline. So if you live in Clark County and you want to put your, throw your poem in the ring for that, there's purple colored flyers about that to pick up on your way out. And thanks to Leah. Make sure that you pay your bill and tip those guys for being so cool. And we'll see you on September 8th. Thanks so much for everything.